Hi, my name is King Mthembu, and I come to you from South Africa. Well, since I last spoke to you on the previous video, I ended off with um, a rather shrill note, if so to speak, talking about how the human trafficking syndicate is currently in control, taking control of the world's money, taking control of the minds of the world's population, and actively fighting against democracy, English, and the Western nations and other countries as well around the world that implement democracy and communism as a style of governance, and as well the languages, all the languages in the world that use the Greek, Latin, English alphabet ABC. So it doesn't necessarily have to be English, but if your language is using the letters of the ABC alphabet, it is in danger. Your constitution, the constitution that drives your country, is in danger of being sabotaged from the inside out using politics that are against the white people and the white race who instilled and bespokely tailor created the Constitution, whether it be a communistic constitution or a democratic constitution. Unfortunately, this Western nation who have managed to help us move into an industrial revolution, that the same caliphate who is the same caliphate is using his products, is using his weapons, whose weapons they're using, and cell phones and media they're using. The same Islam Caliphate is claiming that they do not want democracy and communism. The same caliphate does not is fighting against the intellect and the knowledge that brought about democracy, the knowledge that was built on the platform of freedom of expression, on the platform of education, whether it be democracy or communism. Right. Now, moving on. I am moving on to a topic that is very much relevant to the last couple of videos that I have been publishing and broadcasting to you guys. I hope you're enjoying the channel. I was actually hoping that this array of talks can bring about the sophistic movement around the world. I was hoping that this array of talks can bring about a sophistic movement in and amongst and around Quakers. I think it is time for us to start understanding that there's a new colony that is coming, and this colony is bringing in a wave that is more prepared than we actually ever thought so. But no worries, which is why your king is here. No worries. Today's topic is called employment through the crime syndicate. Okay, that is where I stopped abruptly the last time. Now, without beating about the bush, for decades in the modern world, crime has been a governmental issue, an issue even the United States administration has been having difficulty in dealing with. Okay, when it comes to the intelligence that has been collected by various various intelligent officers, such as the FBI, such as the CIA. It is important to understand that this information has been information that was primarily meant to combat high what can I say? High crimes and crimes that are difficult to deal with. All right. So these crimes that are difficult to deal with were difficult to deal with because they are so well organized that one could actually say that the intelligence and the knowledge of the current affairs and the political affairs that the criminal syndicate actually has is figuratively and practically can say literally ahead of the preparation the CIA and the FBI and intelligence and forensic establishments have. All right. Okay. So now, with me mentioning that even the United States has been having quite a serious issue when it comes to the administration of the world, right? Administration of the world and actually administration of single individuals and administration of mafia cartels as well, who have political power within their communities and societies as well. So when these mafias and these syndicates have very high political power within their communities, countries, societies as well, even the information that these crime-fighting establishments retrieve are useless because there are a lot of professionals in law firms who do their jobs, obviously, primarily for money, and secondly, for money, and thirdly, for money as well. And with that being said, the dignity and the integrity of the ongoings around the Constitution actually lose their respect bit by bit every time a mafia boss or a cartel boss gets away with certain cases and accusations that where community members know exactly where they're guilty, but they get away. What happens when these mafia bosses get away with these cases, or these case dockets go missing and so forth? They come back into the communities and they easily have the strings, and they can pull the strings as to probably order a hit on the person who claimed or cried wolf on against these mafia bosses and these cartels as well. So in the modern world, crime has been a very serious issue. Okay, and it's been a very serious issue because of the need to make money to live. You cannot live if you cannot make money. And unfortunately, crime finds its place. Crime finds its way. Crime seeps into the gaps where the motor of the bricks that were supposed to where the motor of the bricks that are supposed to put the bricks together. Instead, crime is there, and there are spaces that allow for peepholes for these thieves to peep through our own personal residence, and actually even spy and navigate and watch us for very long times on end, obsess about us, gain lots of information about who we are, and funny enough, we leave our doors, we leave our homes, thinking that we are making genuine friends, but we are making friends that have been stalking us. And because of the the technological world, the technological era, that has allowed easier communication and access to various demographic areas of the world. It is easier for criminals who are overseas to even reach us here in South Africa. We have criminals who come from America here in South Africa, Carltonville. We have criminals from Canada here in Carltonville, South Africa. We have criminals from India, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, from Australia, doing various sorts of things. Some of them mask themselves behind the business names and business brands that are just there, that are fronts as for money laundering. All right. This crime is such an issue to an extent, and it is growing by the number and by the second and by the day at this very moment as I'm speaking, because the democracies and the communists that were meant to combat poverty are failing. And why are they failing? Because of the leaders that employ these democracies and these communists. They are corrupt, and they themselves are subject to the cartels and to the syndicates as well, because the moment they take terroristic money, they are reporting and they are kneeling down and bowing down to the same syndicate that our law enforcers have been fighting, that our own community individuals have sacrificed their lives each and every single day, leaving their families and leaving their homes, leaving their sons behind, leaving their daughters behind, who are just a very young age, leaving them behind only to find that there's peeping Toms that are staring through the gaps where the motor was supposed to be. Peeping Toms watching through the windows, watching our daughters, watching our wives, watching our mothers and all our women dress, watching what panties they're wearing, and planning their lives, planning which people to send to them, planning which businessmen to send to them, which businessmen to promise these fake business deals, which businessmen make them fake promises as to, if you sleep with me, I promise I will put you in this. I mean, at the end of the day, if you sleep with me, I am not marrying you. If you sleep with me, I'm passing you on to my friend who will sleep with you, and and so on the cycle and so forth. And by the end of the day, when you want to go for your dream, my sweetheart, your name will be so stained over professionalized prostitution. You are going to do it forever. And let me tell you what, we are going to do our best that we turn your name against the community. By the time we cut your head and we get rid of you, no one is even going to be looking for you. And even when they find out that you are dead, they're going to say you had it coming. So this is how professional the crime syndicate has become. This is how psychological the crime syndicate has become. The crime syndicate employs psychologists who have their own private practices. The crime syndicate employs party agents in political elections, just so that they have this information. The crime syndicate places in members of the public who are illegal foreigners into extended hands of the police stations and law enforcers, like community policing forums and so forth, in order to retrieve these conversations. These WhatsApp groups that we have, where we share each and every single thing, are a very important source of tool for these criminal syndicates. All right, why are non-police officials in police WhatsApp groups? Let me tell you why. Because they ask to be put in there, and actually they force and they coerce to be put in there to find out what these police are speaking about. These police are no longer speaking freely, because these police psychologically are also wearing hijabs, burqas, and niqabs. Okay, now because of this bullying and also rambunctious and pompous, robust caliphate. Right, now moving on. Quite a large population of the world makes money through illegal business activities. This stems directly from the fact that leaders of the communist, of the communistic government styles and leaders of the democracies employ corruption. All right. Now, how do leaders employ corruption? You know what, to be really honest, I'm not going to get into how do leaders get into corruption, because I'd like to assume that if you are watching my videos right now, you are someone who's implementing change, and change comes with research. So, quite a large population of the world makes money through these illegal businesses. Look around you, just for a second, and I want you to look at each and every single business that you know that exists. Perhaps you are one of those people who have those businesses, right? According to the Constitution, is your business legal or not? All right. I will excuse documents. Right. I'm a faking. I will excuse documents, business licenses, so forth, right? But what about the fake businesses, the fake business signs, the fake female receptionist who's sitting by the counter of that business? What about her? What about those businesses who we know exactly are money laundering? All right, they are pretense. What about those clubs? These clubs that pretend to have so many customers. These clubs that pretend that the only money that they have is the money that comes from the clubs. And eventually, over time, these families or these individuals who own these clubs will come out and suddenly be also high, mighty, and rich with clubs, with club money. Right. What is that money laundering for? What are the illegal business activities that have been done in order for you to feel that you cannot keep money in your mattress anymore? This money needs to be in the system. And the moment this money is in the system, what does that mean? Who do you give this money to when you put this money in the system? To our bank tellers, to our branch managers, to our bank managers. This syndicate is taking siege of the economical world. Right. The crime syndicate is a professional industry with front stances for money laundering. As I just explained, you have businesses where they wash dogs. Tasha's puppy wash. Tasha's puppy wash. How does Tasha's puppy wash pay so much rent, which is about 5,000, 6,000 rand a month? How many people would take their dogs, their pooches for washing and for grooming? All right. Who still does that? Businesses like pony riding, right? How do you buy horses with how do you buy horses with honest money and then expect to make the same amount of money back using pony riding? Right. This is something very very concerning, and these are just things that are directly underneath our noses that are happening right in front of us. And as much as we are so desperate to make money, right, it is time to start thinking, it is time to start analyzing that when you make contact with future business partners, future friends, or when you are friends and you decide to go into business partnerships and so forth, you need to understand that all these people have business connections and histories and interaction, all right? And by default, you become part of a syndicate that builds you up to such an extent that when it is time for you to start fighting for your rights constitutionally, you find yourself in the middle of being framed for being in a communistic party meeting. Meanwhile, you're a democratic leader. All right. Moving on, right? Right. The crime activities of the syndicates are of the following nature. Okay. Theft, mugging, pickpocketing, housebreaking and entering, rape, kidnap, contraband trade, which is the biggest, money laundering, corruption, terrorism, murder, assault, treason, political espionage, plagiarism, organizational terrorism, drug smuggling and muling, drug selling and pushing and distribution, drug manufacturing, car hijacking, bank heists, money heists, human body part smuggling, human sex slave trafficking, arms smuggling, genocidal regimes, and warfare. These are all crime occurrences, and it's not all of them, mind you. It's not all of them. It's just a small fraction. But it doesn't matter where you are across the world. It doesn't matter where you are across the world. You are suffering. You are a victim of one of these crimes. And you are a victim whether through being direct victim, whether maybe having had something stolen from you or having stolen something, right? You are a victim, either or. And you are a victim. The reason why I say that you are a victim because the leaders that we have entrusted to take care of us, as I'm indoors right now, shooting this video, at any given moment, one of these crime syndicates could walk in right here and blow my brains out. Does it mean now that because I am conscious of the fact that there are criminals out there who are protecting corrupt politicians, I shouldn't be sending out this video? This is why. This is what democracy was built for. All right. Now, these crimes, like I said from the beginning, have been slowly but surely employing members of the population of the world one by one. We remember at some point when ISIS had just begun. We remember young men flying from Africa going to the east. I think, when it happened so covertly, we didn't take it seriously. Young men flying, young men going by ship, young men cross-countrying through Africa, young men pledging their allegiance into this ISIS that was promising jobs, right? And when they are promising jobs, it's for money. They have families to feed. But the unfortunate part where the moral code is broken is the part where how the money is made. Okay, now with all these crime dealings and activities of the crime syndicate that I have explained taking place, comes the following. Now, during lockdown, during international coronavirus COVID-19 lockdown, whilst everyone was indoors thinking police officials are keeping us safe, these are the crimes that were taking place. This is a direct issue of bad political leadership. Who are those people that said they are not going to conform to lockdown while we were sitting indoors, even with our masks, afraid that at any given time, members of the military would come in and check if we are complying to COVID-19 screening, mumbo jumbo and stuff and so forth, right? When that was happening, when our family members were being admitted into hospitals being where paramedics were being called in to our private homes, where they were being called in to bring in oxygen and so forth, right? How was it that some of these other members were not in there? Now, I mean, some of these other members did not conform to COVID-19 lockdown. In fact, they did so much crime that they were able to buy the essential workers who were given permits to go out there and fight, or rather, I'm not going to say fight, but to make sure that we were indoors. Instead, our essential workers were no longer making sure that we were indoors. Our essential workers were fighting crime occurrences that were taking place day by day by day by day by day. Our essential workers were oblivious to the fact that there's a human trafficking syndicate that is making it impossible for them to fight all these crimes. All these crimes that were happening are crimes that are done by the exact same human trafficking syndicate. This human trafficking syndicate has made crime such a norm that now when the lockdown was lifted, each and every single youth who's looking for a better future, a better prospectus, to take care of their wives, take care of their children, have a car, have a better job, or whatever it may be, just have a better future, had to take part in these crimes. These crimes were lobbied behind the masks of COVID-19 that everyone else was wearing. Believe it, whether you like it or not, in our police stations, there were terrorists who were wearing police masks where no one was questioning if whether this policeman is really a policeman or is a syndicate. Believe it or not, there were invasions that were happening in some countries where terrorists were coming in wearing COVID-19 masks. These COVID-19 masks were not masks that were supposed to symbolize protection against a pandemic, against an endemic, against a plague, against whatever it may be. These masks were a new professionalized way of saying, here is your hijab, you damn Christian. Here is your hijab, you damn Christian who employs democracy. Here, and you shut your mouth and you don't say anything. And in actual fact, I want to prove how much of a corrupt Christian you are. Behind that mask, you are going to employ one of these crimes that I say that you are going to employ, because you cannot resist the taste of money. All right. This was the sickest thing that the planet has ever had to endure. And it is still the sickest thing that the planet is still enduring. Right. This, obviously, so much so, even political leaders took part. Political leaders had been taking part in crime way before COVID-19. Who was in charge of COVID-19? Who was in charge of writing the documents, of writing the screening tests, of creating the whole system? Such a professionalized system that meant sweet blue all. How many people had coronavirus infections? We all know that not a lot of people had coronavirus infections. In my country, South Africa, so to speak, not everyone received a vaccine. So was international lockdown really necessary? From what it seems like, international lockdown was saying, all of you who employ democracy, who employ Christianity, who employ democracy and Christianity and any other religion that is not Islam, go inside your rooms, go inside your homes, because you are not doing the jobs that we want us to do, and you shut your mouth while we go out there, because we are illegal foreigners in your countries and we are not in the system. No one can tell us anything, and we can do crime that we have promised to do. And in order to be able to get the permission to do the crime is to buy out the political leaders and the essential workers who were supposed to protect the people who were indoors. So if you were indoors, you were protected. And if you were not indoors, and if you were not part of the crime syndicate, it is okay for your head to be decapitated and for your body parts to be split up, put inside a shipping container, and shipped across all the way to the black food Chinese market. Lockdown was recently lifted. Have these crimes suddenly stopped? No, these crimes haven't suddenly stopped. Instead, more crime has begotten more crime. I'm not even going to elaborate on that. Crime has reached a record breaking in the history of planet Earth, the planet itself. If you think there was crime before, I think the last time there was such high crime was in World War II. If this is not World War III right now, please shoot me in the head dead right now. The amount of crime that is taking place is so much so is that to such an extent that the people who are going to be correcting the Constitution are going to be crime lords. And they're going to be correcting the Constitution, of course, according to their favor. Right, now, let us move on to the food crisis versus human beings in shipping containers by once logistic distribution ships, which are now pirate ships. Unfortunately, during COVID-19, the essential workers were concentrated in lockdown. There is no lockdown in the oceans. The lockdown in the oceans is only by protocol. So I'd like to think, I don't know, I wasn't in the oceans. All these people and the law enforcers are the ones who knows what were happening inside the oceans. And in these oceans, in these shipping containers, I can assume, and I know I'm right, the king is always right. The king does his research before he claims there are human beings in those shipping containers. And there's a food crisis on this planet. I'm not even going to say the rest. All right. Everything is out of control. And as I mentioned in my earlier videos of us getting to understand what Islam and the Caliphate have in common, we started seeing that these crime occurrences are taking place off-grid. The ocean is quite off-grid. And when these crimes are taking place off-grid, obviously there is no control in the crime that is taking place. And it is sad that big warlords and crime lords who are sitting in off-grid, putting their heels and putting their feet on top of skulls while sipping wine on half craniums. On half craniums. They are controlling Joe Biden. They are controlling Donald Trump. They are controlling Cyril Ramaphosa. They are not going to control me, King Mthembu. Why are they not going to control me, King Mthembu? Because I am speaking about it. I am taking action. They have made us fear so much in controlling it because they know that we have participated. They are blackmailing us with guilt. They are blackmailing us. Right. Now, moving on. With all that being said, it's very easy to complain. It is more difficult to implement. Jane Stolzen of NATO is not complaining, he's implementing. And for the first time in a while, I feel a little safe knowing that NATO is coming together, to know that NATO knows what the bigger picture is about. But what I am more worried about is the protocols, the level of signature authorizations from superior leaders who need to authorize help, who need to authorize United Nations help, leaders in the United Nations who need to, with their high-level authorization signatures, who need to authorize the distribution of food, the distribution of soldiers, the distribution of army, in helping. What did the United Nations do when they arrived in Mozambique? More than we know exactly, there were quite a lot of people whose heads were beheaded. How did the United Nations help? Because right now South Africa is having to deal with a huge amount of influx of Mozambican Boko Haram that are flowing in through our borders. South Africa is having to deal with huge influx of Zimbabwean Boko Haram that are flowing in through our borders. What is the United Nations and American FBI doing about such a terroristic leader like Julius Malema, who is taking siege of South Africa, who is even attempting to try and arrest our president? What is he doing, knowing very well that he is the one who is leading, who is the one who is making sure that these borders are leaking? So with this, one realized that as much as there is conglomeration with such higher authorities like NATO and United Nations and blah 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 blah, but in our streets on a day-to-day, people who live on 100 Rand a day, 150 Rand a day, they can't depend on NATO and the United Nations. They can't even depend on our local parties who have promised to protect them. Who can they depend on? People like me who are reaching out to the rest of the world, promising them that they are going to protect them, promising them that they're going to protect them from these people and from this dangerous, sick, disgusting syndicate that has taken siege of our leaders, of our mothers, of our fathers. Right now, I am finding myself competing with our own parents politically, because our parents have been absorbed by the goddamn Caliphate syndicate. Where is our future going now if the young generation is busy in bars twerking, women twerking, men drinking, buying twerking women drinks, spending all their money twerking? The only thing that is on Instagram is Forex, cryptocurrency and twerking. Forex, cryptocurrency and twerking. It's nice. It's very nice. Everything is very nice. Everyone is flowing, but no one even understands that their daughter might have had even sex with their own caliphate or Indian friend who wears a turban and is wearing a hijab, a niqab or a burqa. And while you are drunk and so forth, you yourself are one of those men who are having sex with daughters the same age as you. This is a very sad case. But because I'm a Christian and because I believe that there is light at the end of the tunnel, it goes as follows. Setting an example. The submission of crime analysis report from countries to Alpha Umbrella plus the litmus paper report. I am finally allowing politicians, researchers, journalists to look me up and subscribe to my page, on my YouTube page, and also on my Facebook page. All right. And with that being said, I am going to give out my email address. And with my email address, you need to understand that it is solely for the submission of the litmus paper report. Now, if you have seen in one of my videos, the litmus paper report is a report where you give a general critical analysis of your country before, during, and after COVID-19, especially during COVID-19, where we are trying to jumpstart the economical activity of our countries and making sure that the natives and the citizens of those respective countries receive first preference. All right. As I said, Alpha Umbrella is a private government that is making sure and that is set on registering white people in the protection of English and democracy as well, and culling from this caliphate, as well as illegal foreigners who are finding themselves seeking caliphate because of politics from their countries that are caliphate and syndicate in nature. All right. So you are more than welcome to submit, along with the litmus paper, a crime analysis and the litmus paper report. Right. So this is now a thing. Each and every single country can now send someone to give a fully discursive narrative report. I don't want your pay slips. I don't want the slips as to say, I don't want to hear about who are the corrupt people or by names, I don't care. The only thing that I want is a detailed, discursive, narrative, descriptive report of what's going on in your country and how we can help your country, how Alpha Umbrella, private government can help your country. All right. Moving on, the Caliphate is running the crime syndicate cartel and it's printing Arabic money. We don't like that. How are we going to read Arabic money? If they are going to print Arabic money, it means that we have to do with the English alphabet, English, Greek, Latin alphabet. We have to do with the stock exchange. We have to, do away with the stock exchange. We have to do away with the culture and the ways that we have lived. And we are not going to do away with it. It means that the Caliphate is threatening to say that because of the crime activities that you, democratic world and business owners, were taking part during COVID-19 lockdown, each and every single systematical economical thing that you are doing is now a crime activity. Yes, we can say each and every single economical thing is now an activity, but we are correcting that now. Please submit your litmus paper reports. Okay. And last but not least, we shouldn't be breeding criminals, but we should be breeding academics and professionals. Need I say more? Thank you so much for giving me your attention on this matter. I await to see and read your litmus paper reports from your king of Saints Kingdom in South Africa, Northwest. Till next time. Mwah.